Hi, my name is Noel Davis with Vermicompost, and here's our week 6 update on our bin. And so far, I think it's going to be going pretty well, but let's take a look and start adding some more food to it. All right, so let's go. All right, so here's our worm bin right here. And top is still pretty wet, which I find to be easier to use or take care of. Now, I'm not sure if anybody has watched some of my other videos, but I've noticed that it might be a little bit too wet. Let me just turn this around here. So we have our first layer, which looks pretty thoroughly worked through. It looks like there's no paper left almost. There's some little bits over here. The burlap is also pretty good condition still. Not many worms over there. I'm seeing some fruit flies now on the bin, so it still has that fruit fly issue. All right, lots of worms on this level right here, which has the coffee grounds. It's a little bit dry over here. Well, actually, it's still pretty wet, but it doesn't stick at all. So this is actually, that's pretty good quality compost right there, Vermicompost. These are coffee grounds. Oh, they have lots of little tiny worms in it, actually. I don't know if you can see those or not, but let me just bring this up. But it looks like it's lots of little tiny white worms in it. I've never seen this before, I have to admit. This is new to me. So if you can see in there, what they have, it looks like, see right here, has all these little tiny white worms. I've never seen them before. That's the first time I've seen that. I don't know if those are baby worms or something else that's in the bin. If anybody has an idea, please let me know. They do look like they might be tiny worms, though. I've never seen that before, and there's a lot of them right here. I'm not sure how well you guys can see that, but it's surprising. I wasn't expecting that at all, and that's something that's new to me. So this is something that's new, and that's in that part of the. Let's get this little guy in here. In that section, let's just take a look over here. I'm going to disturb this side too a little bit. See if there's anything in here. Same thing, not quite as many, but there are some little tiny white worms in here as well. I don't know if those are pot worms or baby worms. I'm not sure. So that's surprising to me. That's something that's new. I've never seen that before in my bins, or especially in my coffee grounds when I've added them. On the bottom here, oh, quite a bit of big worms in the bottom here. So those are still doing pretty well, but it's running really low on food, I can tell. There's not much food left in here, or vegetable matter or plant matter in here for them to eat. So I have the cardboard in here, which seems to be kind of getting a little bit compressed down here now. And this is all still pretty dry in the bottom. It's it's a little moist, but you know, it's primarily dry. I mean, well, it's not dry. It's you can't squeeze any water out of it. This is actually probably the consistency that you'd really want. Like I can maybe if I really try, no, I still can't squeeze, but my hands are now wet from squeezing it. So this is actually a very good consistency. Some of this, okay, now these right here are dry, or a little too dry probably, but some of the newspaper on the bottom here is actually the consistency you want, which is you want it to be wet but not too wet. I find it very hard to maintain that consistency. I usually just try to make it very wet because the worms seem to do just as good as when it's really wet as when it's just a little bit wet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add an entire thing full of food here. This is ground up banana peels. This is ground up broccoli. And I think some celery in here as well. So I'm just going to take this. I'm just going to dump this in the bottom here. So there's quite a bit in here, but that's okay. Spread it out a little bit. Any worms that are on it, they might not do too well since this is all frozen. I just ground it up recently, so the consistency is mush, but it's very cold. So I'm going to wipe my hands off here, and I'm going to put this back down, and I'm going to put this back down as well. Try to cover this back up a little bit. Now I still have some fruit flies in here, or some sort of gnat, but there's not much I can do about that right now. The only thing I can do is I can load it up with paper all the way up here. And I mean, like, you want to give it like 2 inches of shredded newspaper like I have in the bottom, and then what would happen is the fruit flies would not be able to get in or out of the bin for a while, and then if you leave it, they'll go away. I don't really feel like doing that right now. One, I'm not putting in a whole lot of food in the bottom of the bin, so I'm hoping that I'm putting in enough where it'll help the worms, but I'm hoping that there's enough material on top to kind of keep the fruit flies out. So that is my week update here for 6. And it looks like it's still doing good. If anybody has any idea of those little tiny white worms, as I said, I've never seen those before in my coffee grounds. I've put a lot of coffee grounds in because I get extra coffee grounds from my office pretty easily, and you can also go to Starbucks and things like that. So coffee grounds are something I usually add a lot of. And I've never seen that before. So I don't know if that's something where there was just an explosion of baby worms, or if I have some sort of pot worm, I think they've called them before, which is there were little tiny worms. So or of some sort. So anyhow, that's my update. Bin is still looking good. Still lots of worms in it. They're starting to move around more. And that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed.